too.
Welcome to Haunted Hospitality, Southern Stories told by Spooky Gingers. I'm Robin.
And I'm Zoey. And I have a story for you guys today. We're recording out of order because we have something very tasty in front of us. So,
that makes logical sense if you know what's going on.
Yes. So, Robin, real quick, how's life?
Life is good. We're, as you know, steadily in the new year now, and things are looking up.
Yes. Also, my life, yes, got booster shot.
Yay.
Yay. Okay, Robin, what's your something?
My something is a something Southern, courtesy of my cousin and cousin-in-law. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. They sent Cafe du Monde beignet mix and coffee grounds.
Yes.
So we made beignets, and it was, as predicted, chaotic. They are supposed to be lovely squares.
And ours look like shapes.
They are chicken thighs. We made chicken thighs, powdered sugared chicken thighs. But you know what? I think it's going to be really good.
I think it's going to be good too.
Zoey has an air fryer, so we took 3 out of the batch, put them in the air fryer, and I think now we're about to taste them.
Yeah.
And we're doing that before we're doing our other ones because why not?
Why not? It doesn't taste bad.
No.
It's very not fluffy.
I can tell that this is not the way the manufacturer intended this to be eaten. It's like, it's almost crusty.
Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if we're doing some ASMR, but it's very crunchy.
Please don't listen to me chew.
Chew?
Chew. But it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you've heard us eat. The coffee, I like it. I think it's a bit fuller bodied than I'm used to, which I don't think is something I've used for coffee so much before. But very good. It almost, yes, the experience I'm having drinking this coffee is like when I stayed at my friend's house and they had one of those coffee grinders, so you put the full coffee beans in there and you grind it up.
Yes.
And the coffee, oh my god, it was so good. And also I was energized for the day, and I'm literally never. So I'm really enjoying this, and I will continue enjoying it because I'm taking it home with me.
Okay.
Oh, and I'm drinking from a lovely mug.
Yes, I gave Robin a Christmas present. It's kind of friendship romantic. Basically, I got her mug.
Yes. It says Hello Sunshine, and it's my mug that exists at Zoey's apartment.
Yes.
Which I love.
Because to me, when you're home, you have a mug there.
And I'm home. That's so cute. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And for context, because I realized we gave none, Cafe du Monde is...
Oh, yeah. This is why it's something Southern.
Is a place that is in New Orleans, Louisiana, and people can line up around the block to get their beignets. It's so good. I've eaten there. I like eating outside there. I say it as if I've done it enough times. But I really liked my one experience there where I just ate beignets, had hot chocolate because I was like 15 and not really drinking coffee in the mornings yet because I was, high on life or something. And the little pigeons are at my feet. Good memory, good time. Thanks, cousins.
Thank you.
How's the non-air fryer one?
It's fluffy.
Fluffy, good. Zoe, you have a story for us today?
Yeah.
Do you want to take a moment to eat the... Yeah, I do too. Okay, cool. We'll be right back. Do.
No, it's the... All right, we're back.
We are back. We ate. I feel full. I feel happy.
Yes.
Actually, I really only had an Oreo before we did all that.
I only had a mint before we did all that.
So you know what? We're in a much better headspace as of these beignets to do an episode.
Yes.
So Zoe,
yes.
Do you want to get into your story?
I do. I will. So Robin, your episode was, wink wink, a true crime. The episode before this that I know all about, 100%.
We are recording out of order.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it was a true crime.
Okay, so I was like, well, if Robin's doing a true crime, I should do a spooky story. And I was like, what are some spooky stories in the South? Let me try to look for them. And I think I came across a few good ones, but they weren't long enough. Mm-hmm. And then I came across a few bad ones. And then I came across like 10 that were long enough that were good, but all of them were plantations.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that in the South, surprisingly enough. Total shocker.
Almost like awful things happened there.
Almost. So I know I literally just did one about enslaved people, but I'm going to do another one about plantations. And
it's a major part of our history.
It is. Yeah. It really is. It's a terrible, terrible part of our history.
But, like, the purpose of this is to talk about those things.
Exactly. We don't want to, like, sweep it under the rug and pretend it never happened.
No.
But at the same time, we don't want to put up statues to glorify it.
No.
Anyway, so I'm going to be talking about the Ferry Plantation House.
Okay.
The Ferry Plantation House is in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And it's also known as the Old Donation Farm, Ferry Farm, or the Walk Manor House.
Ferry, is it spelled like...
Ferry.
Oh, okay. I was like, there.
Fairy.
Yeah, 100%.
No. So the actual history of the house is very confusing, but basically it was built and named so because it's on a river that a ferry runs through.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was named the Ferry House because of the ferry that went through.
You know, I like how things used to be named based off their, like, what you would know it as.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I can totally see people being like, the ferry goes by there, Ferry House.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes sense.
Because, okay, so all the Ferry House originally was, in 1735, they built the third Prince Anne County Courthouse on the property. So it was a public courthouse. There were 11 stops on the ferry ride. This was one of them, but all the other stops were privately owned. And so this was the only one that was, like, publicly owned, or government owned, or however you want to call it. So all the other houses are the last name of the owner manor, or the last name of the owner mansion, you know? But this one, they're like, well, Ferry, the Ferry House. But before it was the Ferry House, it was originally an area that was cleared by the Native American tribe. They believe it was the Chesapeake tribe, but they couldn't, I mean, apparently the tribes in the area used very similar arrowheads and stuff like that. So they think it was the Chesapeake, but they weren't sure. But they cleared it and used it as a hunting grounds, and because you could find arrowheads on their land. But they were back in the, like, 1500s. They ended up being chased out by another tribe, and then the land was empty for a while. However, there is a Native American graveyard on the property.
Okay.
Yes.
From that era, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I was actually quite surprised that every website I found called it a Native American graveyard.
Rather than an ancient Indian burial ground, which is literally what everybody else calls.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we talked about in a previous episode.
We did talk about that, yeah.
So I was pleasantly surprised on that front.
Did you know that graveyards are attached to churches versus cemeteries that are alone? So I guess it would actually be a cemetery?
Yes. Technically. So in 1642, a man named Saville Gaskin started the second ferry service along the nearby river that would carry people to the courthouse and stop by plantations on the way. Each plantation had a cannon that they would fire to signal the ferry to stop there.
I'm sorry, for some reason that's really funny to me.
It's very fun. Like, there's no better way to do this. You have to fire a cannon.
If I, like, every time I needed to, like, send a reminder out to people, I could just fire a cannon.
Yes.
Oh my god. I mean, the destruction.
And apparently if you go by today, like, you can, there's 3 of the cannons are still standing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you still, you know,
fire them?
if you need a ferry?
I don't think so.
Shoot.
But so when the second service opened, so like I said, this guy opened the second ferry. That's when the government purchased this land and was like, okay, here's this. I don't know why
I'm
it's
sorry,
the second one.
Did you say the government purchased the land and said, here's this?
Yes.
Okay.
Here's the Princess Anne County Courthouse, the third one. I don't know why it's the third one. Apparently the second one was falling apart. However,
buildings tended to do that.
Yes. And it was the first brick courthouse in the county, which sounds very, when you say, oh, it's the first brick courthouse in the county, it's like, oh, cool, that's historical fact. And then you, like, think about it for a second, and it's like, that's a very, like, it would be like if I was, like, I'm the first redhead named Zoey who lived in this apartment. You know, like it's very detailed.
We should get you a plaque
that just says first redhead named Zoey living in this apartment.
Yes.
Yes. Unfortunately, I can't prove that though. I feel like statistically,
you know what we can do? Probably first purple-haired person.
True.
We can probably guarantee that one.
Probably. Okay. So then after it was Princess Anne County Courthouse, it was purchased by a man named William Walk, and he built on top of the courthouse to make the property the Walk Mansion in 1751.
Question.
Yes.
Did it still have, like, a courtroom in the middle of it? Was that his living room?
No.
Was it, like, a throne?
No.
Was he the
No.
Okay.
It became the kitchen.
Really?
So the entire courthouse became his kitchen.
But what about the thing up above it? Was that still the kitchen? I thought it was a mansion.
So he built the mansion, like, on top, like, incorporating.
Oh, around it.
Yeah.
Oh, I was he just built a second story.
No, I'm sorry. No, he, like, built it around it, like, incorporating it into his mansion and converted it into a kitchen. So it was also believed that he ran a tavern out of his property during the American Revolution. Mm-hmm. So he purchased it in 1751. Robin, can you tell me the dates of the American Revolution?
Well, we declared independence on not exactly July 4th, but for argument's sake, July 4th, 1776. I can't remember exactly when we started finding, but my guess is about 1776. So it would be 25 years later.
Okay. Google told me that the American Revolution was between 1775 and 1783.
I mean, I guess trust Google, but also we know that it was like July 4th, 1776, they signed the paper. Maybe it was like,
yep,
we were already still fighting that. Wait, why did you ask me if you already Googled it?
Well, because I was editing the last episode. I was editing the part 1 of the Laurie Mansion, where you asked me where certain celebrities were born.
So you're trying to catch me, but it turns out I actually know things.
Yes, unfortunately.
I am going to Google more into that.
Okay, well...
Feel free to ask me more questions. I love this.
Okay. So, the Walk Mansion burned down on September 12th, 1828. But the section that was the courthouse remained standing. So that part hasn't really been touched too much. Except for, being converted into a kitchen.
I love the lasting quality of that courthouse.
I know.
It's like, no, I refuse to be burned.
So, and then... And then in 1830, the current house that still exists was built again around the courthouse using the bricks from the Walk Manor.
The thing that burned down?
Yes.
This sounds great.
Yeah. So then again, 20 years later, they added a wooden section. So now it's even bigger.
And more flammable. These people don't learn from their mistakes. Also, courthouses are big. Just live in the courthouse.
I don't know if this courthouse was big. I think it was like a 1-court courthouse.
Then why do you need to build... Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just being too picky about this.
Well, now with cars and stuff, we can have big courthouses, but this was like a small county courthouse where there wasn't that many people.
I'm sorry, how do cars factor into this?
Because you can drive from a longer distance.
Oh, so you're saying, like, the amount of people that would get use of this courthouse were not that much, so therefore we don't need a lot of space.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, I genuinely don't know who owned this when, because everybody's like, oh, the grandson of so-and-so owned it, and his name was this completely random name that's not related at all to the first person's name. And also, the person with that same last name as the grandson owned it in ye olde times before Walk owned it. So I genuinely don't know the order of the people who owned this. And on the Ferry Plantation's own website, they have grammatical errors in their history that makes it almost impossible to understand what they're trying to say.
I'm going to be honest with you and let you know that I don't actually care too much about their specific names.
Yeah. Well, it comes back with the ghosts. That's why.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Because then I guess I care a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some ghosts where I'm going to have to tell you that, hey, this was an owner at one point. Don't know when.
Okay.
I'll
take your word for it.
So in 1890, Charles Barnet, who was apparently the grandson of William Walk, took over the house. The owner of the house, potentially Charles's child, died in 1986, and then the house was abandoned.
1986?
1986.
So we're in the present, basically.
Kind of, yeah. So in 1986, the house was abandoned when the last person who owned the place died, or potentially moved to a insane asylum. Not insane asylum, old people home. There's a difference. Retirement home. That's the word.
It's a mental hospital, I think.
No, it's an old person. It's the retirement
home.
Yeah. So they turned over the deed to the city of Virginia Beach, and it was left empty until 1996.
All right. 10 years.
Yes.
A lot can happen in 10 years.
Well, in that 10 years, the house was purchased in 1994 by investors. However, they tried to sell it to somebody who was going to live there. And the city was like, oh, by the way, because of the way it's zoned, you're not allowed to live here. This isn't allowed to be a private residence anymore.
After they bought it?
After they bought it. And they were like, no thanks then. We don't want it. But then they couldn't find anybody else to buy it from them. Mm-hmm. So they had to turn the deed over again to the city. So they purchased it from the city and then had to resell it to the city. And so it was again empty. So then in 1996, the Friends of the Ferry Plantation House was established, and they began renovations in partnership with the city. It was listed on the Virginia Landmarks Register and is on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places.
Cool.
Yes. The property is currently used as a summer history education camp and is 100% volunteer ran. They also host social events and tours and nighttime ghost tours.
Ah.
Because it's haunted. That's the twist you didn't see coming.
What?
Yep.
When you said there were ghosts?
Yep.
No.
So, Robin, there are exactly 11 ghosts on this property.
Can I make a wild guess real quick?
Okay.
I feel like the Hat Man is here.
No.
Shit.
You are very incorrect.
Okay. Well, I tried.
In fact, you are so incorrect. Everybody was like, hey, this house is hella haunted. However, they all have very positive, cheery vibes.
Oh, okay. Which does not include the Hat Man.
No. That's how incorrect you are.
Oh.
Boom.
I'm so sorry. But I'm happy that you got some joy out of me being incorrect.
I'm getting so much joy.
That's how nice I am, Zoey.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so what's up with this?
So, let me start with the general hauntings. When the house is empty, people outside can see the lights turn on by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Volunteers who work there have a checklist that they have to go through when they close down, and part of that checklist is turning off every single light. Like, they actually have to count them and put in a book saying, I turned off 18 lights, or however many lights there are. Like,
that's how you know it's haunted.
They, are very particular about it. Like, you have to turn off all the lights. And with the next crew that comes in the morning to open up, the third floor lights will be on.
See, okay, here's where I love when spreadsheets count haunted things.
Yes.
That's my jam.
People will see strange balls of lights dancing on the roof before...
I'm sorry. Just
so these are probably...
it was prefaced with strange, I would already think that's pretty strange. But, these are particularly strange balls of dancing light on the roof.
Yes. I think they're spirit orbs, probably, from not seeing them at all. Because, unfortunately, there's, a development called the Old Donation Farms development. And it's, a kind of city-ish area around it.
Mm-hmm.
When that was built... the orbs disappeared, but it could be because of light pollution.
Oh, yeah, easily.
Yeah, the same reason you can't see the stars in a city versus when you go out into the country. For the listeners who might not know what light pollution is, that.
OMG, do you think that, when I walk along city streets at night, I'm just not seeing ghosts that are there because, whoa. I mean, no.
No, probably not. But
it is an interesting concept.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh.
I also love that light pollution made an appearance.
Oh,
science.
Okay.
It makes me happy. It makes me happy, Zoe.
All right. So cars have stalled in front of the building while a, quote, white wisp hovered in front of them. Robin, you know what that made me think of?
I have two things that it made me think of. What was one thing that made you think of?
The Old House Woods story that you told, where they were in the car and there was that white ghost that was like hugging their car.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So this will be like randomly, there will be a white wisp hovering over their car and it will stall. So I'm like, well, maybe it just doesn't have enough energy to form a solid form.
Well, the Old House Woods are in Virginia. Where is this in Virginia? Did you
Virginia
already tell me?
Beach.
Virginia Beach?
So on the coast.
I mean, Old House Woods is on the coast.
Hold on. Old House Woods Road.
That's basically it. Yeah.
Okay, in Diggs, Virginia.
Yes, it is.
They are an hour and 41 minutes away driving. However, you have to let me show you, Robin. The distance if you take a boat is very short compared to the distance if you take a car.
So as the crow flies, it's quicker.
Very close.
So I think that we have found a white thing that near
likes cars
on the Virginian coast.
Hey, Virginians out there.
We found it.
We found it. Be careful around your cars.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
This is science.
Very sciencey. Okay. What was the other thing you were thinking of? What were the two things you thought of?
Two things I thought of. I'm trying to remember. Honestly, I can't remember one of them, but I will tell you the other one. Oh, no, the two things I thought of, yeah. One was Mary the Wanderer. She didn't stall cars, but she would appear in front. Like, there was this one of her most well-known sightings is she is on that strip in front of the airport, and this guy and his wife are in the car driving, and it's like she made windows fog up.
Right.
And they're still going in the car, but it's just like this almost moment where they stalled because they didn't know what to do.
Right.
And the other thing it reminds me of is the haunting of Poplar Hill, which, I mean, it's just Poplar Hill. I just refer to it as the haunting of Poplar Hill because the guy said that when they moved out, his, I think, partner and daughter saw like this white mist materializing in the window right before they were leaving. So it was the idea of they were about to get into the car, and it was like the final
goodbye,
but not a happy goodbye.
Yes.
I just got chills thinking about that one.
Man,
but yeah,
I need to re-listen to that.
It did not make the cars stall, but then again, we've had a lot of stories where cars stall.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just white wisps near vehicles.
Bad sign. Also could be a sign that your car's on fire.
Yeah, don't just think that it's a ghost. Check your heat meter.
Yeah, heat meter. So, in the 1980s, a woman. So, listen, Robin. So, in the 1980s, a woman known as Mrs. Howren was supposedly the last owner. Okay. Even though that just did not agree with things I saw online. But anyway, so she was going to a nursing home, and she hired caretakers to watch over the house while she was in the nursing home. And these characters would see a residual ghost every Saturday evening.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
And this was the 1980s, so no photos or videos, unfortunately.
People had cameras.
No, they didn't. So, an old black man would come up from the basement, cross the room, kneel in front of a wall to do a task that they couldn't see what he was doing, and then he would stand up and go back across the room down into the basement.
And just every Saturday evening?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when they were restoring the house years later, they tore down that wall, and exactly where he would kneel and do whatever he was doing, there was a fireplace.
Really?
Yes. So they think he was coming up and tending to the fire and then going back downstairs.
Yeah.
Now, this ghost's name is Henry.
Okay.
And, okay, this is where it gets a little bit problematic. I mentioned this to you one night, Robin. So I'm going to tell you the facts, and then we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
So, through a paranormal investigation team's EVPs, they learned that his name was Henry and that he lived in the slave quarters on the 3rd floor. They said that he lived on the plantation for his entire life, even post-Civil War. Mm-hmm. So he was a freed slave who continued working on the plantation after he was freed. And this next line, I quote directly from ferryplantation.org. Further EVPs picked up by investigators on the 3rd floor suggest that he was content with his life, had nowhere better to go, and his favorite pastime was, quote, goin' fishin', end quote.
Okay.
So,
there's a couple things I'm going to talk about.
Yes.
One is, I feel a little bit skeevy going off of EVPs trying to identify how he felt in this particular situation.
Exactly.
So I'm not really going to take those as fact, or, I don't take EVPs as fact in general, but especially in this case.
Yeah.
The other thing, to the best of my knowledge, a lot of formerly enslaved people did stay, I think, in the area. One, because there weren't a lot of options necessarily, and then it kind of got moved into a sharecropping deal, which was still exploitative to a huge degree.
Right.
That being said, I think this is what you kind of mentioned to me the other night, mm-hmm. and it reminds me of the idea behind plantation romances, which I think has probably made itself into the idea of the Old South that a lot of people have. Now, a little bit of explanation of plantation romances. I have myself never read one. And the reason behind that, I took a Southern literature course, mm-hmm. and we were always reading things that happened after the Civil War. And my professor explained that to us by saying the Southern literature before the Civil War was not good. It is, for the most part, I honestly cannot remember. No, Mark Twain wrote after the Civil War, I think.
I genuinely don't know.
No, he definitely did. That was just me having a brain melt. Sorry about that. He said it was not good because people were using literature as a way to justify slavery to themselves.
Right.
And they wrote, it's almost all plantation romances, he said. And I can't remember all the details he gave, but I do know that in a plantation romance, there is something that is going to threaten the plantation, and the person who saves the day is usually an enslaved man who is like the right-hand man of the slave owner. Right. And he usually does something that saves the plantation, and the plantation owner in exchange is like offers him his freedom, and then the enslaved man says, no, I would like to stay here, I am treated well, I enjoy being a slave. And obviously all of that is bullcrap.
Yeah, very problematic.
Very problematic, and it was just part of the, I guess, trying to square it morally, mm-hmm. Which is impossible to do, and hence the illogicalness of it. But the statements that they got on EVP, it just, I don't subscribe to that.
Right.
And just because, like, you can put anything on EVP, we don't exactly know. And also, maybe you're listening for things in particular.
Right.
And it just falls a little bit too cleanly into that plantation romance thing, which needs to get out of here.
Yeah.
That's my take.
And, like, this is the... Okay, so all the sources I could find, when they talked about the history of this place, mm-hmm. there was, like, one source that said this might have been a tobacco plantation.
Okay.
But none of them mentioned slaves except for mentioning Henry, mm-hmm. who was a freed, formerly enslaved man who stayed on the property and loves his life.
After the Emancipation Proclamation.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, like, there's not a single other ghost that is a formerly enslaved person or enslaved person at the time of their death.
So by the size of the place, even if it wasn't a tobacco plantation, we can probably assume that there were at least household slaves.
Yes.
Yeah, it's whitewashed.
It's whitewashed. It's whitewashed history where they almost refuse to acknowledge that slaves were even there.
You gotta do that.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. But anyway, so I did want to talk about that.
Glad we did.
But, so moving forward. Mm-hmm. So that was ghost number 1. Remember, they said that there are 11 ghosts. So the tour guide / teacher at this plantation named Mrs. Nash occasionally brought her granddaughter to work. When she was a toddler, she would refer to a man with a beard wearing a dirty shirt and painting a picture on the second floor landing of the staircase. They were like, okay, cool, you're seeing a ghost, little child.
For a second, I was just like, yeah, there was a guy there. And then I realized there's no guy there.
There's no guy
there.
So the child would be like, oh, there's the dude with the beard and the messy shirt, and he's painting things. And they'd be like, okay, child, good for you. And then...
That would not be my reaction.
And then they found a painting of the former owners, Thomas and Anne Williamson, who was apparently the daughter to William Walk. And the painting was painted by their son, Thomas Williamson. Oh God, he has the same name as father. Anyway, so Mrs. Nash was like, oh, painting. She keeps seeing a man painting. So she found a photo of Thomas Williamson, the child, who apparently made the painting, and the photo matched the toddler's description of the man.
How specific was the toddler's description of the man?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
However, if it's any toddler...
There's a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I love stories that are like, and then the child was like, that's the guy. But I feel like you have to, like, not egg the child. Like, I feel like you have to not be approaching the child being like, is this the guy?
Yeah.
I think you just need to leave the photo out. And if the child is like, that's the guy, then you move.
Well, luckily nobody lives here. They only work here.
Then you
for
quit.
Free.
And then you quit.
So the second ghost is William Thomas, who is a painter, and he continues to paint the house in his death.
I'm sorry, what? Like, are they finding the rooms?
Not painting the house.
He's halfway done with the kitchen.
Like painting on a canvas pictures of the house.
Wait, I'm sorry. I still don't get it. They just see these things floating around, or they're like...
No, like, people who can see ghosts will see him painting, but he'll disappear with his painting stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. I just totally thought, like, they were just finding paintings, and they were like, it's him again.
That would be amazing, though.
Yeah, No. I'm sorry. I would leave immediately. I don't like this.
So that's ghost number 2. And I want to go on another little mini rant. Mm-hmm. Sorry. They kept calling their tour guides docents or docents. DOCENT.
I have no idea.
I had to Google it. It literally means like a teacher or a guide. And I'm like, just call them a tour guide. Okay, sorry. So
if I ever get a tour guide gig, I'd be like, hello, I'm your docent Robin. Welcome.
Please do.
And we're walking.
Here's my red umbrella. Follow it. I just woke up something in you, didn't I?
You did. I remember.
Okay. We're not going to explain it.
We're not.
So there was a woman named Sally Walk who is seen mourning the loss of her soldier lover, who I believe is Thomas Williamson, the painter. So she's the third ghost. She manifested in front of a medium in 1997, and the medium described her as being a tall, raven-haired beauty dressed in gray and black, leaning her head in grief in front of the fireplace. They believe what they saw was a moment that she learned that her fiancé had died in the war.
Was anybody with this medium?
I don't know.
Okay. You know my feelings on mediums.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. So a paranormal group was like, hey, Sally Walk, why do you stand at the fireplace? And she responded through EVP with, I am so chilled.
I'm sorry. I thought it was going to be like, I'm so chill. I'm so sorry.
No, I am so chilled.
Okay.
So that's ghost number 3.
Oh, so she's cold.
Yes, because she's in grief.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Then number 4 is a lady in white who is seen on the stairs after she died falling down them in the early 1800s. Don't have a name for her, but sometimes you'll see her just standing there, and other times...
No, thank you.
But other times you'll see her tumble down the stairs and break her neck.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Do you remember that other lady in white in the Moon River Brewing Company? Because didn't Zach Baggins try to get her to push him down
the stairs? She also died down the stairs.
What's up with don't wear white if you're going on stairs?
You know what?
What? Liminal spaces.
Well, yes. But also, it is tradition on weddings when the bride is coming, the bride will come down the stairs and everybody will be like, and stare at her.
Okay, guys, 1-story wedding venues from now on.
Yes, we come through doors, not downstairs.
We don't need another woman in white in our hands.
Exactly. So, ghost number 5 through...
What?
So, there was a ship that crashed into the ferry landing in 1810. And apparently the entire crew died.
Oh, shoot.
Yes. Like, explosive crash. Don't know how that happened. But their souls are said to be on the plantation. For now, I'll mark that as 5, but when we get gaps later, I'll just fill in the blanks with soldier, soldier, soldier.
I don't get what you mean.
They were soldiers on the boat. Sorry. They were crew on the boat. So there's 11 total. I'm counting them as we go.
Okay, gotcha.
So ghost number 5 is some amount of crew members.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Now, ghost number 6 and 7 are 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and they were first seen by another docent on the 2nd-story landing. They were like pressed up against the wall and apparently almost made her like fall down the stairs because she got so shocked to see them.
Like, don't go falling down the stairs.
True. So she was startled and then they disappeared. So the boy could possibly be Eric, who supposedly died by falling from a window. The room he fell out of is now the conference room, and paranormal investigators have picked up real-time and EVP children voices in that room. So you'll be in the room and you'll hear it real-time and you can pick it up on the EVPs.
Gotcha.
So that's fun. And toys will move on their own, including one story of a toy hoop in the gift shop once fell from the wall and rolled across the room, hitting an investigator. And another time, a design student was eating a candy bar and it flew across the room.
Whomst among us hasn't had a candy bar fly across the room?
It was either this boy, Eric, or Harry Potter wearing an invisibility cloak.
It could be either.
Yeah. So the girl that they saw could be Bessie McIntosh, a daughter of the people who owned the house in the 1860s. She died at the age of 5. They didn't say how, but I'm guessing some sort of illness. People see her as a ghost girl with ringlets and Mary Jane shoes. Now, Robin, I heard the phrase Mary Jane shoes, and I also saw the date 1860s, and I was like, were Mary Jane shoes a thing in the 1860s?
I think it's very...
So, I Googled it. Mary Janes were actually invented in 1904.
Oh.
However, they were adapted from a very similar looking shoe called bar shoes, which were popular in the late 19th and early 20th century.
Okay.
So they could have been bar shoes, but they would not be in Mary Jane's.
I completely forgot that Mary Jane shoes existed until about 3 sentences into your description of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I am very familiar with them because it's very hard to find them, and especially when you're looking for red ones for your Velma cosplay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, guys, I don't think we've told you this. Zoey and I have been trick-or-treating together quite a few times. And one time we were in a group, and she was Velma, and I was Shaggy.
Yes.
Fun times.
Woo!
Yeah, I gave Scooby piggyback rides through the neighborhood.
You did do that.
Yeah.
Who was Scooby? Was that Karen?
Karen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It was fun.
We had a friend who was in a wheelchair that year, and we wanted him to dress up as the Mystery Machine, but he did not.
No, we pelted candy at him, though.
We did, while singing Christmas carols.
It was fun.
It was very fun.
Good year.
Yes. So, So, there's another little girl. So, the first little girl, Bessie, has dark hair. And then there's another little girl who makes our 8th ghost. We don't know her name, but she is a blonde. And a clergyman was there. He didn't know about the ghosts. He had never really heard about hauntings or anything at the plantation, even though he lived there. I don't know. Not at the house, but he lived in the area.
Imagine living in a place for 10 years and then everybody's like, you know it's haunted, right? Be like, what?
And so he walked into the dining room and saw a little girl about 6 or 8 years old. And she looked at him with very sad eyes and then disappeared through a wall.
Oh, shoot. That's bad.
That's bad.
Poor girl.
So a psychic claimed that this little girl's name was Mary. And she was... Oh, I'm sorry. No, there's a third little girl. So this is our 9th ghost.
There's a lot of children here.
So this girl is the girl named Mary. Apparently, there was a little girl named Mary Elzabella McIntosh. She was 3 years old when she died in 1805. So the psychic says that this little girl is also on the property. So that's 3 little girls and a little boy. So that's 9 ghosts that we're up to so far.
I hope they have fun together.
Yeah. I think since, like, the way the toys move, that they do play with each other.
Good.
Yeah. So another guide followed what she thought was the granddaughter of the other guide from before, Mrs. Nash, who took her granddaughter, who saw the painting guy. So she thought she saw the little girl, the toddler, and was like, oh, let me go chase her because she's in an area she really shouldn't be, at least not alone. And so the little girl was, like, giggling and running from her and then ran into the best parlor. And the guide entered right after the child, and then the room was empty and silent.
Oh.
So the actual little girl that she thought she was chasing was actually in a whole other part of the house with her grandmother the whole time.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, the best parlor.
Is it, like, the better parlor, or is it named after people whose last name is Best?
I think it's, like, the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's the one for showing off to your fanciest guests.
What if, like, you came over and I was like, here's my second best room. Have fun.
Wow, I would be so insulted.
As if I would have multiple rooms.
Mm-hmm. So the best parlor is a room that's known to be darker than the rest, with some describing it as forbidding and much colder than any other part of the house. A member of the Port City paranormal team felt an icy finger run down their back in this room, which totally could have been a sweat drop.
You're totally right.
If it had been a finger running up your spine, that's different. But anyway, so they recorded, so they say, a EVP that sounded like a heartbeat and another of a child giggling. They also saw the phantom cat in 3 separate locations, so our 10th ghost is the cat.
Yay!
Yes. So the Port City paranormal team has several photos. I'll show you 2 of them. Most of them I can't see anything in. They also have a list of, like, EVPs where they, like, you can listen to them. They're audio only, and nothing in them to me sounded like a ghost. Mm-hmm. Because they didn't have video, I couldn't tell if there was nobody in the same room as him. And the only ones that sounded like there was a voice, you couldn't understand it, and it honestly just sounded like there was a woman in the room with him talking to him. And I feel like if you don't have a video with that, there's no way to prove that there wasn't just a woman in the room speaking to you.
Yeah.
Like, if he had a video where he was alone in the room and you heard that, I would be like, holy crap! But...
Zoe, I mean, has anybody ever seen a video of us recording? Actually, they have.
Yes.
It could just be like, I was a ghost, and we were just talking.
You've been a ghost this whole time.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So, in one photo that they showed, there is a pregnant woman who's dressed in blue, looking sad.
Am I about to see a photo of a pregnant woman dressed in blue looking sad?
Yes.
Okay.
So no one in this room looks like this at the time of the photo. There's nobody pregnant. Nobody was wearing a dress. Nobody was wearing blue. They were all wearing black and white, pretty much. So Charles's wife, Charles was the owner of the house. She was 8 months pregnant when he died. So that they believe that this is a moment in time when her sadness of her husband's death was captured.
Oh,
so, like, she was feeling, like, such a strong emotion that she became a woman in blue, which we've talked about before.
We've come across quite a few women in blue, actually.
And they've always been very sad.
They have been.
Yes. So I'm going to move this pineapple.
We have a pineapple on the table, guys.
So here is the photo.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. You can very clearly see, like, a side profile. She's looking down. There's the blue dress, and there is, like, a bump. I feel like that bump might be a little too high, but...
The bump is a very high bump. I will give it that, but everything else is so darn creepy.
Yeah. So it almost looks too real, you know?
It looked like the face is looking at us with awful, like, triangle black eyes.
Oh, I saw that just as, like, looking down.
Girl, she's looking at me. I don't know about you.
Well, see, Robin, when I take my glasses off, your eyes become a pit of darkness.
Okay.
So I can't make out eyes when I'm not wearing glasses.
You were wearing glasses looking at the photo.
Yes, but this looks like what it looks like when I'm not wearing glasses.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
So it's, like, out of focus.
Okay. But yeah, there's something there. Now, okay. It could be a reflection of a normal thing that just happens to look like a woman glaring at me who's pregnant. However, but it does look very creepy, and let's rate it. Do you want to rate it?
I would give it...
Out of what?
So, let's rate it 2. If this was real, I would give it 10 out of 10 spooks.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
My believability factor of it, though, is probably, like, 6 out of 10 spooks.
6 out of 10 spooks? Okay, here's where I am.
Okay.
10 out of 10, yes, if it is actually, like, she's there. Wait 1 second. Is that part of the door? Is that wood thing coming out right there part of the door?
I think that's a bed right there.
Okay, because it just, like... Because I
this
see
is
this
a very
as
zoomed in photo.
I thought that was like a reflection.
Yes, this is a window.
But I'm seeing that in front of the beam.
You're right.
Sorry, guys. We're examining this a little bit further because there's a blue of her dress and the bump specifically that is in front of the beam that I assumed was just part of the paneling of the door that is supposed to be the thing that's offering her reflection.
It's a window.
Okay, window.
The wood could be on the outside, though.
It could. Okay. But for realsies, again, 10 out of 10 if it's somehow happens to be real. But I am, like, really skeptical a lot of this stuff, so I can, like, get a thrill from it. I can look at it and be like, whoa, that's creepy, and, like, the idea that it's real is very interesting to me, but honestly, 3 or 4.
Okay.
Believability.
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
Yeah. So, I do have to say that they have mannequins dressed up in ye old clothes throughout the house.
You'd have to get a very weird angle to get that mannequin to look like that in the reflection.
And also the mannequins don't have heads. Like, they just stop at the neck.
Nope, I saw a head.
Yeah. So this next one, they say this figure in the window is a ghost. She's wearing a brown dress with a white apron over it, and it's another reflection in the window. They did say that in this room there was no dress or on a mannequin or anything that had this coloring of dress, and nobody in the room was wearing this. So Robin, if you look, there's the head, here's her arm, and there's the apron.
Wait, can you show me her head again?
So her head is behind the beam right there.
Oh.
And that's her arm, and this is the apron. And some people say this looks like a dog.
There's definitely a lot going on in the reflection. I just don't think we even have context for what the room behind it looked like.
The room behind it is outside.
No. I'm saying... Okay,
gotcha. The room.
Because the light is coming from inside the room, because outside is dark, so you're looking and you're kind of seeing the reflection back at you.
Right.
To be honest, what you're saying is the arm looks to me like a head of hair.
Oh, I see. I can kind of see that, yeah.
Like, much more than an arm would. But now I'm
because
looking at it a little bit.
Floofed. It's like the floofy.
It's floofed. It looks like red hair to me. But it's floofed. I can see what you're talking about.
She's kind of like standing like this.
Yeah. I'm interested, but I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. When I first saw this photo, actually, I looked at it like 5 times before I was able to actually see the figure in it.
Yeah, I'm going to say 5 out of 10 for spookiness.
Okay.
No offense to the photo. And 2 out of 10 for believability.
I agree with those statements.
Okay.
I would maybe say 6 out of 10 for spookiness, because she, even though you can't see her face, if this was real, it kind of looks like she'd be like, I'm hunting you.
Okay, you know what? If I saw literally anything in a reflection that I thought for a second was like a spooky thing, 10 out of 10 I'd be terrified. So you know what? Spookiness is always going to be 10 out of 10. That being said, the woman who looked evil and pregnant to me a little bit ago is more terrifying than that one.
Okay.
That one looks like a little girl, but that could be equally as terrifying.
True. Okay. So then a YouTuber named Omar Gosh TV. So I think
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I
like
think
oh my gosh.
Like oh my gosh, but I think his name's Omar.
Okay.
So Omar Gosh TV, he went out there and his YouTube video is actually on their website. So go look at it.
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Right away. I'll run to it.
So we're not going to watch it because it's 30 minutes long.
Okay.
Yeah. So the most interesting part to me, at least, he was in the most active room in the house, in quotations. He didn't say what room it was unless it was a part that I skipped over, but he said that they would lay their dead in this room for days before burying them to see if they would wake up. Because you remember the bell?
Yeah, where you tied it to the hand, and so if they woke up while they were being buried, then it would
ring the bell.
Yeah.
Yes. So basically they would lay their people out there to see if they would wake. I don't know if that's the origins of the term wake in a funeral, but it sounds like it fits. But
it does sound like it fits.
I should have Googled it. I thought about Googling it, but then I felt sick, so I didn't.
Save it for something spooky.
Okay. So basically when their people died, they would lay them in this room and they would sit there and watch for a few days and wait to see if they hear a bell ring. And then when they didn't hear the bell ring, that's when they would bury him. So in this room, they started doing an EVP session. And I'm only going to read out some of the ones that are more I understood. It wasn't just the captions saying it.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
I feel like when the best way to listen to EVPs is to listen with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
I'm
definitely.
sorry, did you mind plugging your ears?
I did at first. But I entirely meant eyes closed, yeah. So first, when they were talking about just like the history of the room, they heard the words help. Like they hadn't said anything to the ghost yet.
Oh, okay.
And then they were talking about funerals and the bodies being on the table, and they heard the table. Yeah. He asked if Bessie was there with them, and they heard yeah. And then the woman in the video asked Bessie so the woman had heard singing earlier in the house, and she was like, was that you singing earlier? And the EVP said, kept sing.
Okay.
And then he asked Charles if he liked Laura or Stella more. I don't know what that's about.
Are these people who are investigating? Or was it just like random names?
There seemed to be only 2 people investigating, and it was Omar and I don't remember the name of the woman.
Okay, yeah.
So I think like Laura and Stella were people in Charles's life. I don't know if he had 2 wives or something. But he said, do you like Laura or Stella more? And they heard Stella.
Okay, well, you heard it here first. And Charles liked Stella more.
But then they asked him again, and the same voice said, done. Like, don't ask me again. And then they heard Henry and Free, which was like, okay.
Okay.
And then so they said, we're happy that you're free now, Henry. And he said, good.
So wait, I'm assuming by they you mean Omar and the person who was...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's more, but you can listen on the video yourself, or Omar Gosh TV.
So do you remember when we went over the degrees and the classes of
I do.
EVPs?
I was thinking about this morning.
Yeah.
But I was just like, eh. So this wasn't exactly an EVP, though. This was the box.
Oh, And you know what? I just use those interchangeably, and I really shouldn't, because EVP is like, you do not hear it in the moment.
Right. And it's boxes, like, they use the box to say certain words for you.
So honestly, probably most of what we've been talking about as EVPs, and this is my bad a lot, is things that are not actually EVPs at all.
Everything previous to this video was EVPs.
I know that I've done some things.
You mean in previous episodes?
In previous episodes.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I mean. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they're different.
Apologies.
Robin, get it straight.
Apologies.
So, I have saved the best ghost for last. Her name is Grace Sherwood. She is ghost number 11. And Robin, you know how you said, like, there's two parts of a ghost story? One part is, like, the history, and the other part is, like, the actual encounters?
Yes.
And you enjoy the encounters more than the history?
I do.
Unfortunately, I have 0 encounters.
Give me the history, girl. Give me the history.
I do want to say, so Grace Sherwood is a famous ghost all on her own. So I believe that the Ferry Plantation house is like, oh yeah, and she haunts us too.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
That's clever.
So I have a couple encounters of where they'll be like, and I saw Grace Sherwood on the land walking around, and then she disappeared.
My question is, how do you know that ghost from Adam?
Exactly. Yeah. Ghost from Adam.
Like, you know, I don't know you from Adam.
Yeah, I know that phrase, but the way you said it just was like, I feel like that's the title of a book. A Ghost from Adam.
Ooh. Okay.
TM?
TM.
Okay, so Grace Sherwood was a boss-ass bitch.
Oh, okay.
So she was married young as you were in the 1700s, early 1700s. And she married a man, as you do in the early 1700s. And you good?
That was just really funny.
Thank you. So, and they had a number of sons together.
As you do.
As you do in the 1700s. So,
their lives did not have a lot of variation.
So, he was a farmer, as you are in the 1700s. And she was an herbalist and a midwife.
I feel like that's pretty unique.
That is pretty unique. So, she was actually, like, known for her herbal skills. Okay? So, like, she was able to, like, cultivate certain herbs. And she was kind of like the town doctor. And also she was the midwife, so she helped people give birth. And apparently her success rates of birthings was much higher than a typical midwife's would be because of her herbs.
How many times? Guys, drink every time we say herbs.
Yes.
That's 4 shots so far.
Yes. So she was also very, very beautiful. And she also preferred to wear pants over dresses.
Wait 1 second. Is she stuffing the dress into the pants?
No, she's wearing trousers.
You said over dresses.
She prefers wearing pants over dresses. Like, she prefers wearing pants over preferring to wear dresses.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also love that.
Okay. She was yeah, you got it. So
Zoe's trying to say she was a boss ass bitch.
Yes. And then her husband died.
Oh.
And then she took up his farming. She didn't get, like, remarried or anything because she knew, like, if she had to get remarried, she would have to have another kid by this new husband. And then she's like, I don't got time for that.
I already had a number of sons.
So, just to recap. She's really good with herbs.
Shot.
She farms all by herself. She wears pants. She's so beautiful that men look away from their wives when she passes. And she was a midwife. I think I already said that. But she was a witch.
I don't know why I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I was like waiting for you to be like, oh, she was a witch.
Now he's like, tell me more about this amazing person.
So all the women in town kind of hated her a little bit because she was so beautiful and so perfect and so glorious.
As you do in the 1700s.
Exactly. So they accused her of being a witch multiple times.
Yeah.
So she had to go to court every time to defend herself when people were like, it's her fault that the harvest was bad. It's her fault that the weather is bad.
I'm sorry, guys, do you want your babies to be born okay?
It's her fault that the livestock died. So she had to go to court multiple times because everybody's like, she's a witch that's cursing our land. But the judges were all like, she's kind of instrumental to our town.
Yeah.
And you have zero proof. So she's not going to be found guilty. So they're like, no, she's not a witch. She's not a witch. Okay. Until 1706. Mm-hmm. Elizabeth Hill had a miscarriage and blamed Grace. And unfortunately, Grace was her midwife. So the fact that she was directly involved and so many people had already accused her of being a witch, and then Elizabeth Hill is again accusing her of being a witch, the court system was like, well, we have to try her now. So they decided to do a trial by water, which, if you know, it's a term called ducking, where they tie your ankles and your wrists together, and I think your ankles to your wrists as well. So they basically like hog tie you. They might have shoved her in a bag. I saw people said that they just threw her in. Some people said they should put her in a bag. The idea was if she is pure and innocent, the water will accept her and she will drown. If she was evil, then the water will repel her and then we can imprison her until she dies.
I have a question about this, and I don't know if you know the answer. Because it always seemed like, okay, well, either you die or you die.
Right.
But is it that if you went down a bit into the water, they would be like, oh, she's okay, and they would take you back out?
So, if you did start drowning, I have heard a couple stories where they did end up drowning, and they were like, wait, because you had to wait until you could prove that they weren't coming up, and then people would be released to go and get the person out of the water. However, by that time...
You could have just died.
They could have just drowned.
Would you, in that circumstance, drown or not drown?
Well, so considering that they tie your wrists...
Yeah.
It's not like you can get free. I would probably hold my breath and try to drown, sink, and just hold my breath and hope for the best, I guess.
Here's an unfortunate truth for me. I'm incredibly buoyant. I don't know how to describe it other than I just don't sink. I would be a witch.
You're rejected by the water.
It does reject me constantly.
But yes, so they threw her into the water, tied up, in the same river that Ferry Plantation is off of. Oh yeah, and also the court that she was tried in is the Queen Anne Courthouse. That is the Ferry Plantation, by the way. Forgot to mention that at the beginning.
That seems integral.
Yeah. No, so that was where all of her other trials were in the Queen Anne County Courthouse.
Okay.
Yeah. So she floated to the surface when she was thrown into the water, so she floated, and so a mob of town people grabbed her, started calling her the Witch of Pungo. Don't know where Pungo comes from, and she was arrested. Gosh. So she was incarcerated for almost 8 years before they were like, she's about to die. So they allowed her sons to bring her to her house to die. So
that sucks.
Yeah. So her sons carried her from the prison to her house. And here's a very beautiful quote from Alphys J. Chewing's Haunted Virginia Beach. One tale says that on the night she died, she had her son set her barely living body in front of the fireplace. At the moment of her death, a strong wind blew down the chimney, filling the house with smoke and soot. When the room cleared, Grace was gone, and there was cloven hoof print in the ashes, left by the devil, coming to reclaim his own.
Oh my god.
Yes. I mean, that's the tale.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm extremely skeptical, but
yes,
she seems really cool.
Yes. So her legacy is the first witch of Virginia Beach, and she is so well known that in the 2000s she was posthumously found not guilty of being a witch, and a statue in her honor was erected at the Centera Bayside Hospital because she was herbal. Shot. So people of the Ferry Plantation say that the courthouse was the courthouse at the Ferry Plantation. That's where she was tried, and the water trial was off the coast of the Ferry Plantation, and that Grace haunts the land. One source said that she's actually buried under one of the large trees on the grounds.
Maybe.
So, unfortunately, again, I don't really have any encounters.
It's okay.
That wraps up the Ferry Plantation house.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
I really enjoyed our discussions this episode.
Yes, I did too.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a big part of Southern culture, especially Southern history and Southern ghost culture.
Like the plantations.
The plantations and the whitewashing of the plantations' histories.
Yeah. Well, guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, review, and tell a friendo. Also, real quick, you can now apparently rate on Spotify.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. I actually really don't know how to do that.
Okay.
But apparently I heard that if you listen for 30 seconds, a thing will come up allowing you to rate that podcast, but they want you to listen to them before you rate them. So just letting y'all know that that's a possibility.
Okay.
And please, if you feel like it, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/hauntedhospitality.
Yes. Also, if you want to see my sources and my blog about this episode, you can go to hauntedhospitality.wordpress.com. And if you have your own spooky stories, whether that be true crime, paranormal, mystery, whatever have you, or anything that we've covered in the past and you want to tell us your experience, we would love to revisit. Please send us an email to hauntedhospitalitypodcast@gmail.com.
I'm going to add a thing in there that says you can also just message me on social media.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Tell them about our social medias.
I'll tell you about our social. We are on the interwebs. You can find us on Twitter at Haunted Hosts, and on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Haunted Hospitality. We hope to see you there.
Stay spooky.